Hey everyone, welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast. I'm your co-host Tim Chelsvik. Across the table,
I got Matt Drury.
You do.
And we got Mark Drury, more importantly.
What's up, guys? It's a brain trust.
Something like that. We were missing Terry.
Yeah. Then the Voltron is complete.
Yeah, something like that.
So we've got a question of the day from a DeerCaster. We appreciate folks that hopped on and asked us questions. And our DeerCaster is someone who's like a regular, like pretty much they comment on everything that's in the DeerCast news feed.
Are you playing favorites here, Tim, picking these?
A little bit.
Okay, so comment more on DeerCast.
Yeah.
Tim's our editor at DeerCast.
Flattery gets you everywhere.
Absolutely.
Lamar Ward actually asked a really good question. Lamar's from Missouri. We'll listen to this question in just a second. But if you want to leave us a question, just go to DruryOutdoors.com/podcast. Leave us a message. Just click the send voicemail tab on that page, and you can record a question for us. And
awesome.
We'll get to it. So
awesome. Well, the question of the day is brought to you by Bass Pro and Cabela's. Your adventure starts here.
How can you track a specific deer or pattern a specific buck that only shows up 4 to 6 days on your property? My Pacific property is 570 acres, and every year I have nice deer, specific deer, that show up specifically nocturnal, and they're like on a loop or a circle. 4 to 6 to 7 days they'll show up, and you can never pattern them to be there when they're going to show up. Any input you have would greatly be appreciated. I love DOD and I love DeerCast. So thankful y'all finally come out with it.
So that's kind of a hard one to have, kind of a ghostly buck that you maybe get a few pictures of, and it
sounded like you had like 3 or 4, and basically they're making their rounds and they only come one time a year. And I kind of relate, at the least after 5-6 years, there's 1 week where it's good. It's the rut, and I don't think there's any question as to why. They don't live on us. Mm-hmm. So we have a bunch of does, and that's the one time a year where the bucks decide to go travel to find the does. In his instance, he's got a lot of ground. I mean, he's got some decent acreage there. So I don't know what his food plot situation is, or cover or timber or whatever. Yeah, right. I don't know what his setup is, but it is certainly strange that with that much ground, he doesn't have, deer other than one time of the hunting season.
So Mark, how does the question hit you initially?
So really it kind of applies to every deer, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's just the greater the odds, your odds increase, the more of a homeboy they are on your place.
Sure. And
they decrease the less that they spend time on your place. So he in essence, by the virtue of the question, is answering it, the answer is there. When you have them, you have to be prepared for that period the following year, because they are very, very habitual. Mm. I have learned through the years that it's last year's pictures, and you guys have heard me talk about this. I talk about it all the time and have been for a while. It's last year's pictures that you need to be looking at, not this year's, because what you learn from this year is oftentimes old news, because what they're doing that day, they're not going to do. It's one of the reasons we did 13. They change so frequently throughout the year. They also change home ranges quite a bit, and it may not be a big shift. It may be a slight shift, but it's just enough of a shift to take him into Lamar's hunting area or out of Lamar's hunting area. So study those pictures from this fall and make your plans food plot wise, access wise, tree stand wise going into next year. And you become better at that if you invest in a few more cameras and you get more information. Because of the fact that they're not coming there very often, therefore, when they're there, you need to learn as much about them as you possibly can, so that you have analytics going into next year that go, all right, here's how I cut this deer off, or here's where I need to hunt. We did it with Taylor's deer this year. That one she bow kill, like that deer, I mean, he was just on the fringe barely. And when he got onto the farm, we went in and went after him immediately and got him killed the first time we hunted him, because I knew he wasn't going to stay there. Mm-hmm. He did that 2 years previous where he just wasn't there very often. So I get it. And literally every deer is like that. It's just some are there more than others. And it really comes down to cameras and MRI and making a good game plan for the same time frame the following year.
It's the difference between chess and checkers, right?
It is.
There's another dimension. You're talking a long-term, like an annual plan to kill a deer, not just, hey, showing up last week, we got to go.
And he mentions it seems like they're making a circle. They likely are making a
Could
circle,
be.
more or less. Like that's they got different ranges for different parts of the year,
Yep. And it definitely expands in and around the rut. They all do this, and that's how fights occur and all that good stuff. But their home ranges are quite small early season and late season. And even that changes. Like you can see bucks in the summer, they'll be on you, and then they may not return till winter, till after late November into December. Then again, they may not come back at all. They may not come back till the following summer, and consequently, you may pick up deer in December that you don't see any other time of the year. I've seen that phenomenon through the years.
It happens to us every year.
Every year. So I just keep track of all of them, and you go, well, this is a newcomer. Well, he's on you at the time, so he's living there part of the year.
Right.
It doesn't mean you should go try and kill that deer. He was safe somewhere in October, November, and he came back in December. So I started changing my views the last 3 or 4 years, because as deer would show up for the food, I'd go, he's only here this year, I better get him killed. And it's not necessarily the case. He may come every year, provided that you have food source for him and good cover and that type of stuff. So those deer need to reach maturity just like some of the younger deer do. So
now,
some of the homeboys do.
If you got a property where, heavy pressure from the neighbors, which is the case
Different
for us
story.
at Dad's. If they get to 4, it's hard to get them to 5, but we try to. You might want to think about taking that shot.
Yep, for sure.
So it's different. You guys talk about the MRI of the farm all the time, and that's certainly the case when you're talking about a deer showing back up or having the ability to even get back to your place the next year.
I had a deer this year that moved from one of my farms to another farm that was 2 miles away. And I went back and looked at photos last year when he was a little younger. He was hard to pick out because I didn't keep as many photos, but he had done the exact same thing. All right, so now I know during the early season where he's at and where he goes during the rut and the late season. So he's in trouble. I tell him
You got 2 chances of killing him.
He's in trouble because his home range is occurring on 2 different farms 2 miles apart.
You better hope that there's not a really good hunter right between your 2 places.
Yeah, there are some very good hunters between. So I'm hoping he just walks right through and goes from
at
one
night.
to the other. Yeah, at night. But he's a good deer, and, I got his number.
Well, it seems like with most things in life that you're successful when you have a plan, you're organized, you have a plan, and you carry out the plan. I'm curious because you have more trail cam pictures than anyone else I know, and you're known for that. So how do you organize all your trail cam pictures by year and to be able to go back and reference them in a way that's meaningful that you can create some kind of plan?
Sure, I keep them all in Buckview, which is Reconix's software that comes with every camera. It's downloadable off of their website, and I've done that from 2007 through the present. Literally every rack buck I've ever taken a picture of, I have them in my computers, and it allows me to go back and reference home ranges, because that's sometimes how we kill them. Like if you find a buck with a similar home range, I'll go back and look what this buck did and when he was there, and you'll see bucks in the future doing the same thing he did, because covers, food, and home range is home range. But you can really pattern those bucks from year to year. I mean, that's the way we're killing them, frankly, is learning from previous year's information and then going in and assaulting them the next year.
Some of us are better at it than others.
I can only imagine.
That tool that him and Dad have picked up, because it's not easy. I mean, it's laid out there, but you still have to be pretty intuitive. It's a next level thing to get to the point where you're more or less predicting their next year's movement, and you're laying out the plan for food,
It's a lot of
what
discipline.
kind of food and what type of year. It's a lot of discipline. It doesn't. I mean, it's not like, oh, I understand the principle behind it, but doing it's a whole nother
Sure.
another
Well, it's a
level.
lot of time. It's unending hours of studying pictures. It literally never ends, and there's no app for it. There's no computer program for it. Like, you can't technologically gain this advantage other than sitting there studying them, looking at direction of travel, morning versus evening, daylights versus dark, where all you're getting them, and then looking at maps. I mean, it is unending.
Something else that Lamar's question brings up for me is just how much stock you put in the intel that you have to be able to make the statement that they just disappear for other parts of the season. Because I think about there was a funnel that I had hunted for the first few years I had access to a property. I had a few cameras up there and I didn't see anything and I just wrote it off. And then I decided to go back there and hang a few more cameras. My first sit, I saw a really nice buck, and then I discovered that it was a highway. And really the fault was mine for not having my camera set up at the right angles and not spending some time observing that spot. So maybe they are disappearing, maybe they're leaving to another property, or maybe the intel that you have just isn't complete. And so you need to think about the entire picture there.
That's certainly a good point. I mean, there's many times where even sitting in a tree stand, you'll watch a deer come out and you just miss the camera, and you go back to check the camera and you have no pictures from that day, and the field could have been full in a separate part.
Yeah.
So that certainly can be the case.
100%. Like, and one thing that I do is, like, when I get on a good deer, I take resources and put them on that deer. You got to be smart about where you place them and whatnot. But when I killed Danger, I had 8 or 9 cameras running for that one deer in a very, very small area trying to find him. So, if the deer's, if it's worth it, you take resources and you put them there and you try to figure him out, but you got to be real careful about where you put them and how to check them and all that good stuff.
That's next level stuff too, because you can
Every
really
one of them
screw up.
I'm terrified.
Every one of them was
scared.
perimeter. I never went in the woods one time after that deer. They're all out where he can't see me go look at the camera or smell me or hear me.
Sure.
So you got to make sure that stuff's, we talk about, well, we don't hunt a lot of mornings, but I'm hunting every morning by either observing something, placing a camera, going to check a camera, that type of stuff. And, I just don't hunt the woods much anymore. And we get banged around for that a lot. We posted a video this morning of a hunt that took place in Illinois in like 93 or 94. And I was in the timber. I was down in the bottom of a draw, and this buck came walking down there, and I killed him. And everybody was like, "Get back in the woods. Why are you not hunting the woods anymore? You're always out on the field edges, And there's a reason, because I'd hate to guess how many deer drives I did going into those stands and coming out of them. I mean,
it's hard.
You have little bitty blocks of timber. Where the hell do you think they're bedded, man? They're right
and
there.
The wind is swirling.
I was going to say, not only that, but there's a pretty good chance that your wind is not
The
helping
wind's
your
not
cause.
right. You're doing a deer drive, and I hunt out on those field edges and put those plots next to cover strategically to suck them out right next to their bed. Like, I'm as close to those woods as I can get almost in every situation. And our effectiveness has really risen through the years. I know you guys like the timber hunts, but you're just not going to see them come back anytime soon. There are certain areas I will go, but for the most part, we're smacking those big giants just off those bedding areas.
Well,
you can't go in there if you want to kill him more
It's
often.
basically certain areas, certain times of the year. You're only going to be anymore the way
During
we
the rut.
hunt. It's during the rut, and otherwise it's a different strategy.
Right.
And we have a camera guy to think of. We have a lot of. We're trying to get the best footage we can. We just proofed a bunch of kills from the team today. Almost all the timber kills that we proofed sucked.
Yeah, they were tough usually.
In comparison
Except
to
for
what
mine.
in comparison to what all those food plot hunts, big deer, and you're like, wow, beautiful, it's clear, it's clean. There's a difference for us.
It is, yet we get that comment over and over, get out of the fields, No, I'm not going to. I'm going to plant more fields this year, and I'm going to be closer to beds, there's no comparison hunting the edge versus hunting internal. There is no comparison.
Totally. Yeah.
I get the strategy.
I get the desire, because people like the woods, and I love being in the woods too during shed
a whole
season or
different
tracking
feeling.
a deer.
Yeah.
I don't like being in the woods when I'm hunting the deer.
Yeah.
I like being right on their edge because they're bedded right there.
Yeah. And some people don't have a choice. Some people like that. That's what they have. That's probably 95% of my hunting. I'm typically way back in the timber on a ridge or something.
You don't have the ability to plant a food plot on that piece or whatever the case
Understandably
is.
so.
So you do what you have to do. But man, if you have access to it, why not take advantage of it?
Even then, though, Tim, you still have the choice of penetrating all the way in or hitting those
you still have
fringes,
to be smart.
slowly work your way in and go, okay, at what point am I seeing the most deer and jumping the fewest? You know? There's a happy medium there.
Yeah, within an oak hickory stand, there's typically on southern facing slopes, there's typically a cedar patch, and I know I'm not gonna get anywhere near those cedar patches because that's the thermal cover. That's where they're hanging out in the daytime. So there are nuances to hunting in the timber. Man, it's not easy.
I don't envy you. I mean, you're hunting some really hard styles. I mean, it's tough.
Well, and it's very typical of the way a lot of people hunt. It's the way we grew up hunting, and we had a lot of success, but our success was in and around the rut. And right now, if you look, a lot of our success, it's early season and late season.
Yeah.
And it's fewer during the rut than it is, most of the big bucks, all of them this year up on my farm, we killed them all in October before they got doed up.
Sure.
Find their bed, plant to that bed, and then have a smart access in and out plan to get in there and kill that deer. But we killed some monsters in October this year.
Yeah. In general, the team did too.
Team did, yeah.
So
It was a big year.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Well, guys, thanks for kicking that around. Lamar, thank you for your question. Thank you for being a DeerCaster. We appreciate that. If you're not a DeerCaster,
we appreciate that more than you know.
Big time. Thank you, Lamar. We appreciate
really
all
do.
the comments.
Yeah.
It's so awesome to see the community that has grown through DeerCast and just how encouraging and positive people are. It's such a breath of fresh air relative to some of the social media comments that we see.
For sure. It is. It's a very positive place, and we're trying to aim to keep it that way. We're working on some really big improvements for this next generation of it as well.
Deer hunters really do love each other unless they hunt next to each other. Have you ever noticed that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, things can get kind of dicey.
They really do love each other until they're neighbors. That is each man for himself.
The gloves are off at that point.
When two people are hunting the same deer, it's never pretty.
Yeah. It's tough.
Well, so thank you, Lamar, for joining in on the conversation. If you want to join in the podcast, leave us a message at druryoutdoors.com/podcast. Please check out DeerCast if you haven't already. There's stuff going up in there every day. It's not like we've come to the close of most of our deer seasons that we've shuttered it. Not by any stretch. We're still in there.
There's plenty of content, plenty of great articles, new DoD TV episodes going in. The podcasts obviously go up over there. There's plenty of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Just a matter of continuing to have that interest, and we're hitting timely things. So here, soon we'll probably transition into what you need to be doing to help, have herd health in this type of year. Then into shed season, and then obviously turkey season.
Turkeys.
Look out! It'll hit full force there. So we'll have plenty of kills up in it.
Can't wait.
It's also the place to follow along with Mark and Terry's management of the farm property that we're going to be giving away in December.
Yep, we got some cool plans there. We recently started talking about doing a piece on stocking the pond, and because there's a pretty big pond on it.
Showing some trail cam pics of bucks that are out there.
Yeah, talking about the type of timber there is, or timber stand improvement that can be done, or whatever the case might be. So there's some neat stuff that we're getting ready to do, and we'll continue to roll that out on the app only.
Yeah, so if you're not already part of the giveaway, if you haven't registered, please do that. It's quick and easy. Like literally will take you 2 minutes to do that. Do it through the app, or you can go online and do it through our website. But once you get registered, then you are qualified to potentially win every month leading up to the big giveaway in December.
That's right.
So
we've got a lot of cool prizes.
A lot of great stuff coming.
This month, 2 pallets of analogics.
That's it's a ton of product.
Literally.
It's incredible product. If you want to do some inventory, if you're concerned about herd health,
time is right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if you'd love raccoons to come into your barn and open them all up. It works for that as well.
Boone and Crockett raccoons.
Word to the wise.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, subscribe to the show via Google Play or Apple Podcasts or any of the other places that you normally find podcasts. And you can check us out on YouTube. And the podcast also publishes on time in the DeerCast app in the DoD TV section. So make sure you're checking it out there also.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Lamar, thank you for all your participation. And until next time, we're out.
See ya.
Peace.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.